Jennifer Langston had everything. At least, that's what the headline said. Forbes, women under 40 to watch tech. Queen of the West Coast from broke to billionaire. Jennifer Langston's empire. But no headline ever asked why she cried alone in her penthouse at 3 a.m. No one wrote about the silence in her life. The type of silence that follows you like a shadow when you've burned every bridge and forgotten how to feel anything except guilt. Behind the gleaming smile and calculated charm was a woman whose world had narrowed to boardrooms, deadlines, and stock portfolios. She'd risen from nothing, carved her name into the world with her bare hands, but in the process, she'd lost the one person who ever mattered. Her son, Austin Langston, 20 years old, brilliant, beautiful, and broken by the absence of a mother who mistook gifts for love. She gave him everything except herself. Tutors, top schools, a Porsche on his 18th birthday, but never her time. Never the warmth of sitting beside him with a bowl of cereal and asking, "How was your day?" 2 years ago, he vanished. No dramatic fight, no slammed doors, just a note left on her kitchen counter. "I don't want your money. I want a mother. Since I never had one, don't pretend now." He changed his number, moved abroad, left no trail. Jennifer never spoke of him again, not to the media, not to her staff, not even to herself. But she carried the weight of that note like shrapnel in her chest. That night, the rain came hard. A cold, needling downpour that turned the sidewalks of San Francisco into silver rivers. Jennifer had stayed late at a charity gala, a tasteless performance of generosity from people who couldn't pronounce the word empathy. She left early, heels clicking, eyes tired, her black coat wrapped tight against the wind. Her driver was supposed to be waiting around the block. She took a wrong turn. An alley, dimly lit, slick pavement, a shortcut that became a trap. She didn't see the first man until he grabbed her purse, didn't see the second until the pipe cracked against her shoulder. "Don't scream," one of them snarled. "If you scream, we finish it." Jennifer's world spun sideways, shouts, blood, her knees slamming into concrete. Her breath came in short gasps, her brain blinking between terror and disbelief. This can't be happening. Not here. Not to me. But it was. One of them ripped the earrings from her ears. The other checked her coat for valuables. Her hands flew up to shield her face, her heels shattered beneath her. And then, a pair of eyes, small, wide, hidden behind a rusted dumpster 10 feet away. She saw him. A boy, maybe 10, maybe 12, face thin, hair matted from the rain, clothes hanging off his bones. She looked at him, bruised and helpless, and in that one locked glance, she begged him, "Help me. Don't walk away." The men laughed as they walked off, her purse swinging from one of their shoulders, the metal pipe spinning like a toy in the other's hand. They didn't care if she lived or died. But someone else did. Malik had learned long ago to stay hidden. He was 11 years old and had already mastered the art of being invisible. Invisible in foster homes, where he was just another case file. Invisible on the streets, where grown-ups turned their eyes away fast. Invisible in the alleyways and corners of a city that didn't care if he lived or disappeared into the rain. That night he was curled behind a dumpster near 6th Street. It was warm there, sort of. The bakery next door threw out old pastries. Sometimes, if he was lucky, they still had sugar on them. But tonight wasn't about pastries. It was about the scream he didn't hear, but the fear he did. He peeked out. 2 men, 1 woman, blood, violence. He froze. Then she saw him. Just for a second that stretched like forever. He should have hidden again. That's what survival meant. You see pain, you look away. But her eyes held him. They needed him. And for the first time in years, he didn't want to disappear. The men vanished. She collapsed. Malik ran. He knelt beside her. Her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. Her face was a wreck. Blood. Dirt. Eyes swollen. But her lips moved. "I'm going to call someone," he said, voice cracking. He pulled a burner phone from his jacket. It barely worked, but sometimes, if the weather behaved, it could make a call. 911, what's your emergency? The voice on the line asked. "She's hurt," Malik stammered. "Bad, real bad. She's bleeding. I don't know her name. Please, send someone." He gave the street name, the alley, the cross-section. Suddenly, her hand gripped his wrist. Her fingers were cold, fragile, but they held him. He looked down. She was crying. You're the first person," she whispered, "who didn't walk away." Malik's throat tightened. He'd always wanted someone to say that to him. "If I die here," she coughed, "just know you saved more than my life." Her body convulsed with pain. Blood filled her mouth. "You saved my faith in people." He couldn't speak. His chest ached with a pressure he didn't understand. Then she said it. Words that would live inside him forever. "I wish my own son had your heart." Something inside Malik broke. Not the bad kind of break. Not the kind that hurt. The kind that healed. His eyes stung. A tear fell. The first in years. He stayed until the ambulance came, held her hand, watched as the paramedics shouted orders and loaded her into the vehicle. He didn't wait for thanks, didn't tell them his name. As the sirens wailed and red lights spun against the wet brick walls, Malik stepped back into the shadows. Because kids like him don't get remembered. But maybe, just maybe, someone finally would. The sound of the monitors was the first thing she heard. Beep, beep, beep. Jennifer Langston blinked into a fog of white light and antiseptic air. Her mouth was dry. Her ribs screamed every time she breathed. Her face, she couldn't even feel it. She tried to sit up, but a gentle hand pushed her back. "Easy, Ms. Langston. You've been through a lot." The nurse's voice was calm, professional, but not cold. Jennifer swallowed. Her voice rasped like broken glass. "Where is he?" "Who?" "The boy," she said, eyes flickering open fully. "The boy who called, who stayed. He saved me." The nurse blinked, surprised. "There was no name on the report. The paramedics found you alone." Jennifer's brow furrowed. "No," she whispered. "He was there. He didn't leave. Not like everyone else." She closed her eyes. The memory was jagged but sharp. The cold, the alley, the blood. And the boy. Thin arms, old jacket. The way he looked at her, not with fear, but with something else. Compassion. The police came later that day. 2 detectives, professional, concerned, focused on the crime. They reviewed the hospital security report, asked for a description of her attackers. Jennifer did her best to recall. 2 men, black jackets. One tall, one with a limp. One carried a pipe. The other had her purse. "And the boy?" one detective asked, pen poised. She nodded slowly, tears brimming again. "All I remember," she said softly, "is that he was small, young, and brave." The detectives checked surveillance footage from the alley. A grainy video showed the assault clearly, the 2 men surrounding her, the violence, the theft. But the camera never caught Malik's face. Just a faint blur moving at the very edge of the frame. A shadow. "He didn't give his name?" the detective asked. Jennifer shook her head. "But I remember what he said, and what I told him." She repeated the words aloud, her voice breaking with each syllable. "You're the first person who didn't walk away. If I die here, you saved my faith in people. I wish my son had your heart." The detectives went quiet after that. There was nothing more they could do. Days passed. The pain lingered. So did the questions. Jennifer healed physically faster than expected. But inside, she felt fractured in ways no doctor could repair. She couldn't forget the boy's face. Not the shape, not the dirt, not the fear or the fire behind his eyes. He had disappeared before anyone could thank him. But Jennifer didn't want to thank him. She wanted to find him. When she was discharged 2 weeks later, her driver waited outside with the usual black Escalade. "Back to the penthouse, ma'am?" he asked. Jennifer paused. "No," she said. "Take me to every youth shelter in the city." He blinked. "Ma'am? You heard me. I'm not going home." That day began a different kind of journey. One without luxury, without a press release, without filters or handlers or schedules. Jennifer Langston, tech mogul, media darling, walked through food lines and outreach centers, spoke to volunteers, handed out blankets, served soup beside people who didn't know or care who she was. She went to halfway homes, youth centers, emergency shelters. "Has anyone seen a boy?" she asked over and over again. 11, maybe 12, dark skin, scar over his eyebrow, might not talk much. She carried a drawing with her, just a rough sketch she commissioned from a police artist. It didn't do him justice, but it was all she had. "Sorry," most said. "Could be 100 kids like that." And they were right. There were 100 kids like that. But she kept looking. She returned every day. Meanwhile, Malik stayed in the shadows. He had seen the ambulances come, watched them take her away. He hadn't meant to cry, but the words she said, they dug deep into something he didn't know he still had. A heart. He kept to the edges of the city after that. New alleys, new hiding spots. The old bakery dumpster had too many memories now. But something had changed inside him. He didn't know what it was. Just that for the first time in his life, someone saw him. And he didn't hate it. One evening, just before dusk, Jennifer's driver pulled up near an underpass. She had almost given up that day. Her muscles ached. Her bandages itched. Her hope was threadbare. She stepped out of the car anyway. And then she saw him. Curled against a graffitied wall, wrapped in a torn denim jacket, fast asleep beside a shopping cart full of rusted junk and old cans. Him, the scar, the face, the exact eyes she remembered. "Malik," she breathed. She stepped forward. He stirred, then jolted upright, eyes wide with panic. He backed away, fists clenched, ready to run. "Wait," she said, hands up. "It's you. I found you." His voice was sharp, afraid. "I didn't take anything. I swear." "No," she said gently. "You gave me everything." They sat across from each other on a curb. She didn't press, didn't ask questions too fast. He stared at her like she might vanish. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice tight. Jennifer swallowed. "Because you saved me, and I haven't stopped thinking about you since." He said nothing. "I owe you more than my life," she added. "I owe you a future." Malik blinked, confused, suspicious. "No one owes me anything," he said. She nodded. "Then let me give something anyway." It wasn't easy. He didn't trust her. Why should he? She was a stranger, a rich stranger. He'd been promised things before, and every promise turned out to be a lie. So Jennifer didn't promise. She just showed up. Every day. Sometimes with a blanket. Sometimes with a sandwich. Sometimes with nothing but a chair beside him. They didn't talk much, but she always stayed. After a week, he started talking first. After 2, he told her his name. After 3, he asked her if she still had the scar on her cheek. She smiled and nodded. He said he liked it. said it made her look strong. She laughed for the first time in weeks. Jennifer didn't try to adopt him, didn't ask for his story all at once. She knew healing wasn't a transaction. It was trust, built brick by brick. One day, while they sat beside a fire barrel, Malik finally asked, "Why are you really helping me?" Jennifer turned to him, eyes glistening. "Because in my worst moment, when the world walked away, you stayed. And I won't forget that." He nodded slowly. Then, after a long pause, he asked, "Can I call you Ms. Jen?" She laughed. "Only if I can call you kiddo." Some moments come quietly. Not with fireworks, not with fanfare, but with a suitcase placed gently on a bed, in a room that smells like clean sheets and second chances. Malik stood in the doorway, arms crossed over his chest. The foster home wasn't much, a modest single-story house on the edge of the city, but to him, it looked like another planet. "Is this really mine?" he asked. Jennifer smiled from beside the case. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she opened the closet, revealing a few sets of clothes, a shelf with books, a nightlight shaped like a moon. She turned back toward him. "No pressure, no expectations," she said. "Just a safe place to breathe." Malik didn't move, but his eyes scanned the room like someone checking for traps. "What if I mess this up?" he asked quietly. Jennifer knelt so she could meet his eyes. "Then we figure it out. Together." The adjustment didn't happen overnight. Malik didn't suddenly become a trusting, open kid with warm smiles and grateful hugs. He didn't know how. He flinched when people raised their voices, even if they were just laughing. He kept food hidden under his mattress for the first 2 weeks. He refused to let anyone touch his backpack. He sat at the edge of every room, one foot always ready to run. But Jennifer didn't rush him. She didn't push. Instead, she came by the foster home once a week, then twice, then more. They didn't always talk about big things. Sometimes they just sat on the porch. Sometimes she brought puzzles. Other times, they watched old movies together, ones she used to watch with her son before everything fell apart. One evening, over grilled cheese sandwiches, Malik asked her something he'd been holding in for weeks. "Why were you in that alley?" Jennifer looked down at her plate. "I was lost," she said softly, "in a way that money couldn't fix." He frowned. "But you're rich. Like, crazy rich." She gave a tired smile. "Doesn't mean I wasn't empty." He didn't understand fully. Not then, but he nodded anyway. She hesitated, then added, "My son. His name is Austin. He left 2 years ago." Malik blinked. "He just left?" Jennifer nodded slowly. "He said he didn't want my money. Just a mother. Since he never had one, he didn't want me to pretend now." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Honest. Malik stared at his sandwich. "I never had a mother either." She didn't say, "I'm sorry." She didn't have to. Some griefs are too shared to need words. Over time, Malik started school again, part-time at first, then full days. Jennifer arranged tutors who were patient. Therapists who understood trauma. Mentors who didn't ask too many questions but always listened. She used her connections not to buy Malik's way in, but to break down walls in front of him. He still had bad nights, nights when the nightmares came or when he refused to speak. But then, there were mornings when he smiled. Really smiled. And those were worth everything. One afternoon, while waiting for Malik outside his new after-school program, Jennifer sat beside an outreach volunteer. "I don't want to rescue him," she said. "I want to equip him." The woman smiled. "You're doing that, just by showing up." Jennifer thought about that for a long time after. How different the world might look if people just showed up for kids like Malik. Behind the scenes, Jennifer wasn't idle. She had started digging. Through her contacts in tech, she hired digital forensic analysts to enhance the alley footage. She reached out to security consultants, former federal agents, anyone who could help her identify the two men who had nearly killed her. Not for revenge, for justice. The weapon, the pipe used in the assault, had left marks, unique patterns, and Jennifer had money. Enough to fund efforts the city wouldn't. It took months, but eventually she had names. One attacker had tried to flee the country under an alias. The other was already in custody on unrelated charges, caught trying to rob a liquor store. When police raided his apartment, they found the same steel pipe wrapped in an old gym bag. Same dents, same fingerprints, same story. Jennifer gave her statement calmly, provided the timeline, the injuries, the emotional and physical toll. And when the court date was set, she told Malik gently, "You don't have to come. But if you want to be there, I'll save you a seat." He nodded. "I want to see what happens when someone like you doesn't walk away." The courtroom was silent when Jennifer took the stand. The media was there. The cameras, the headlines. Millionaire CEO testifies in brutal alley assault. But none of that mattered to her anymore. She looked the two men in the eye, and her voice didn't tremble. When asked why she had pursued the case so relentlessly, she didn't hesitate. Because boys like Malik shouldn't live in a world where men like this walk free. Because someone needs to say enough. The defendants were sentenced. Jennifer didn't smile. She didn't cry. But when she walked out of the courtroom, Malik was waiting for her. She looked at him. He nodded, then whispered, "I'm proud of you." Months passed. Malik started volunteering at soup kitchens, shelters, even mentoring younger boys at the after-school program he once avoided. He had been given a future, and now he wanted to give one back. Jennifer watched him grow with quiet awe. On the second anniversary of the night they met, she brought him to a gala she helped organize, a fundraiser for homeless youth initiatives. He looked uncomfortable in a button-up shirt and slacks, but he stood tall. When a speaker dropped out last minute, the host panicked. Jennifer turned to Malik. "Do you want to say something?" He swallowed, then nodded. He stood at the podium, gripping the mic like it might shatter. "I used to sleep in an alley," he said. A hush fell over the crowd. The kind where people don't see you, where you don't matter. He looked at Jennifer. "Then, one night, I helped someone. I didn't know who she was. I didn't expect anything." He paused. "But she saw me, and she remembered me, and that changed everything." He looked back at the crowd. "I'm not here because I was rescued. I'm here because someone showed up. Again and again. And now I want to show up for someone else." The room erupted in applause. Jennifer wiped away a tear. Not from pain, but from pride. Because once she had nearly died in the dark. And now the boy who brought her back to life stood in the light. And he was shining. Some wounds don't bleed. They breathe, slowly, silently, beneath the skin, shaping everything that comes after. For Malik, healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about remembering differently. Remembering that the alley where he nearly lost himself was also where he found something worth holding on to. And remembering that sometimes the difference between broken and beginning again is just one person who stays. A name on a lanyard. It started small. A plastic lanyard. Malik held it like it was made of gold. Program volunteer. Malik. He turned the tag over in his hand for the 5th time that day. Couldn't stop smiling. Jennifer leaned against the doorway of the community center and watched as he checked in with other kids, some younger, some rough around the edges like he used to be. She saw it in their faces. They listened to him, trusted him, because he had walked where they were walking, and made it out. Later, on the drive home, Jennifer said, "You were incredible today." Malik shrugged, though his eyes sparkled. "I'm not doing that much." "Yes, you are," she said softly. "You're being seen, and you're making others feel seen, too." Guilt in the mirror. But even as Malik rose, Jennifer found herself sinking. She couldn't sleep. Every night, she stared at her phone, at Austin's last message from 2 years ago. "I don't want your money. I wanted a mother." "Since I never had one, don't pretend now." She kept rereading it. Sometimes she whispered it aloud, just to feel it cut again. She never responded. Not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't know how. She'd asked herself the same question 100 times. How do you say sorry to someone who thinks they've already buried you? One night, Malik caught her crying quietly in the kitchen. He didn't say anything. He just sat beside her, silent. Then, finally, "You don't have to tell me, but if you want to, I'm here." Jennifer wiped her tears and looked at him. "I missed too many years. With my son. I thought money could fill the space where love should have been." He didn't judge, didn't flinch. He just nodded. "I used to think money fixed things too, until I realized people need people." Jennifer blinked. He was right, and he wasn't even 12 yet. A door left unlocked. Jennifer began writing letters to Austin. Never sent them. Just poured out the truth. Pages filled with regret, missed birthdays, all the things she should have said and never did. Malik found her at her desk one morning, bleary-eyed and surrounded by crumpled drafts. He didn't ask questions. He just left a cup of cocoa on her desk and a sticky note that said, "Sometimes the right words are the ones that scare you the most." That night, Jennifer printed the letter that felt the most real. She folded it, put it in an envelope, didn't send it, but she left it on her nightstand. It was a start. The past never asks permission. Everything changed on a Tuesday. Jennifer and Malik were at the park, tossing breadcrumbs to birds near the pond, when her phone buzzed. She didn't recognize the number. She almost ignored it. But something told her to answer. "Is this Jennifer Langston?" "Yes. I'm calling from the U.S. Embassy in Berlin. We have an Austin Langston here requesting an emergency passport renewal. He listed you as an emergency contact." Her breath caught. "Austin!" "He didn't want us to call, but protocol required a parent to verify identity." Jennifer stood up, dazed. "Is he okay? Is he... Can I talk to him?" There was a pause. He declined to speak. Her heart broke all over again, but the embassy worker continued. "He's safe. He said not to involve you." "I'm sorry." Jennifer whispered. "Don't be." Because knowing he was alive, really knowing, was more than she'd had in 2 years. She hung up and sobbed into her hands. Malik sat beside her, quiet. "He's not ready," she said finally. Malik nodded. "But he's still reachable. That's something." The empty chair. That weekend, Malik was asked to speak at a youth roundtable, a small gathering of teens from difficult backgrounds who were shaping outreach efforts across the city. It was intimate. No stage, just a circle. Jennifer came too, but this time she didn't sit in front. She sat off to the side, letting him shine. He shared parts of his story, not the pain, but the growth. "We aren't broken," he said. "We're just people no one expected to survive. But we're still here." The applause was soft, respectful, honest. One of the organizers approached Jennifer after. "Your son has a gift." She smiled, blinking back tears. "I wish I could take credit for it, but he found that on his own." That night, Malik asked, "Do you think he'll ever come back?" Jennifer hesitated. "I don't know. I think he might be watching, from a distance, waiting to see if I've changed." Malik looked down. "I'd come back." She smiled, reaching out to squeeze his hand. "I know you would." The door opens a crack. A week later, an email came. Subject, none. From unknown address. But Jennifer knew the writing. One line. "I saw the gala clip. The boy, Malik. He reminds me of who you used to be." No name, no greeting. But it was him. It was Austin. Jennifer stared at the screen, trembling. She didn't respond right away. Instead, she printed the email, folded it, tucked it next to the letter still sitting on her nightstand. Malik peeked into the room and saw her standing there. Was it him? Jennifer nodded. Tears welled up. He's still watching. Malik walked over and stood beside her. He'll come around. One day. She placed a hand on his shoulder. And until then, she whispered, I've got you. Some letters never get mailed. Not because the words aren't ready, but because the heart isn't. Jennifer Langston stared at the envelope resting on her kitchen counter every morning like it was a ticking bomb. The one she'd written to Austin months ago, folded so carefully, sealed with trembling hands. But it was still here, still unopened, still hers alone, until tonight. The conversation that never happened. It started with a question. They were doing dishes together, Jennifer washing, Malik drying. It had become a kind of ritual, peaceful, ordinary, necessary. Did you ever write your son back? Malik asked quietly, his fingers lingering on a damp plate. Jennifer stilled. I wrote him a letter, before he emailed. But I never sent it. Malik nodded. Why not? I was afraid it would make things worse. Worse than silence. She looked at him, blinking. Then slowly, Jennifer reached into a drawer and pulled out the envelope. He needs to read this, she said, even if he never replies. That night, she emailed a scanned copy of the letter. No subject, no introduction, just the words she'd been carrying inside. Malik watched from the hallway as she clicked send. You okay? He asked. I'm terrified, she whispered, then smiled. But I'm also free. A name in the inbox, 3 days passed. Then 5. No reply. Jennifer buried herself in work, even as her mind wandered. Malik noticed. He watched her fingers hover over her phone too often. Watched her silence stretch like a wire pulled too tight. So he made a distraction. Come with me, he said on Saturday morning. Where? Somewhere loud. The march. They went to a citywide youth rally for education equality. Hundreds of teens, educators, volunteers filled the park. Placards, music, speeches. Malik didn't just attend, he led. Jennifer hadn't known he'd been working with a local advocacy group. She hadn't known he had a speech prepared, or that he'd memorized it. But when he stepped up to the mic, shoulders squared, voice steady, she felt her heart swell. 2 years ago, I was sleeping under a bridge, he began. I didn't have a backpack. I didn't have a school. I didn't even have a name that people remembered. Now I'm here, because one person didn't walk away. That's all it takes sometimes. One adult, one moment, one belief that you are more than what you've survived. He looked out into the crowd, then directly at Jennifer. She didn't save me because she was rich. She saved me because she stayed. Thunderous applause followed. Jennifer covered her mouth with her hand. She wasn't crying. She was shaking, because behind her phone screen, a new email had just landed. From Austin. The subject line read, "Read it." The message was short. "I read your letter. I believe you meant it. But I need to say something back. Can we meet?" Jennifer dropped onto the nearest bench. She blinked, tried reading the email again, but her vision blurred. Malik knelt beside her. "It's him?" he asked. She nodded, breathless. "He wants to meet." The first meeting. They chose a small cafe in Tribeca. Neutral, public, quiet. Jennifer arrived first, wearing a sweater instead of her usual silk blazer. No makeup, just herself. Malik didn't come. He offered to, but she said this was something she had to do alone. At 6:04 p.m., Austin walked in. He looked older than she remembered, thinner. But his eyes, those piercing green eyes, hadn't changed. "Hi," she whispered. He nodded, sat down. For a long time, they just looked at each other. Jennifer finally said, "Thank you for showing up." Austin leaned back. "I almost didn't. I would have understood." They sat in silence for a few beats. Then he pulled something from his jacket. Her letter, worn, creased, red. "I read it every night this week," he said. "Every time I wanted to delete your email. I read this instead." Jennifer's voice cracked. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that I never stopped loving you, even when I didn't show it." Austin looked away, then quietly. "Do you love him?" "Who?" "The kid, Malik." Jennifer smiled without thinking. "Yes, not as a replacement, not to fill a hole. I love him for who he is. I love you the same way." Austin blinked rapidly. "Then I guess I want to meet him." Jennifer's breath caught. She reached across the table, not to hold his hand, just to be closer. "Anytime you're ready." The bridge between them. A week later, they met in the park. Malik wore his cleanest jacket. He was quiet, nervous. Austin showed up in jeans and a hoodie, hands in pockets. They stood across from each other. Jennifer watched, heart pounding. Then Malik said, "You don't have to say anything. I know this is weird." Austin gave a half laugh. "Weird's an understatement." But he nodded. "You did something brave. For her. I appreciate that." Malik shrugged. "I didn't do it for appreciation." "I know." They sat down. They started talking. About books, movies, coding. Malik confessed he'd been teaching himself Python. Austin lit up. "I work in data science," he said. "Want me to send you some stuff?" Malik's eyes widened. "You do that?" Austin nodded. And for the first time in 2 years, Jennifer felt something unthinkable. Hope. Letters in the open. Later that night, Jennifer found Malik on the balcony, staring at the city lights. "I didn't say much," he murmured. "But I liked him." "He liked you too," Jennifer said. "Think he'll come back again?" Jennifer wrapped an arm around his shoulders. "I think he already has." Malik smiled. "Then, maybe, I'll write him a letter too." Jennifer blinked. "What would you say?" "I'd tell him that people don't always get things right, but they can still fix them, if they care enough." She nodded slowly. "I think he'd like that." Malik turned to her. "You ever think maybe we were both waiting for each other?" Jennifer closed her eyes. "I think we all were. Some battles are fought with fists, others with truth, and some with a microphone in one hand and a child's hope in the other." Jennifer Langston had survived the alley, but she hadn't forgotten it. Not the hands, not the pipe, not the feeling of the world going dark while strangers laughed. And she hadn't forgotten the boy who knelt beside her and refused to walk away. Now she owed him more than a second chance. She owed him justice. Pieces of a case. Detectives had done their best. The alley had only partial footage. The attackers' faces were blurred, but one detail stood out: the pipe. Weeks later, that same pipe, rusted, dented, was recovered during the arrest of a man suspected in an unrelated robbery across town. The DNA matched, the fingerprints lined up, and the bruises Jennifer had endured told the rest of the story. 2 men, 1 weapon, 1 near-fatal assault. Jennifer was asked if she wanted to press charges. She didn't hesitate. "I want them to face what they did," she said. "Not just to me, but to the idea that people like Malik have to grow up thinking that monsters win." The courtroom. It was winter when the trial began. The courtroom smelled of old wood and hot coffee. Reporters lined the walls. Jennifer Langston's comeback made headlines. But it wasn't about her ego. She never wore makeup during the hearings, never arrived with security. Just herself and a small notebook she carried like armor. Inside it was the name Malik, written over and over again, because she wasn't there for revenge. She was there for him. Malik's dilemma. But justice wasn't clean, because a week into the trial, Malik saw someone he recognized in the hallway outside the courtroom: Devon, one of the older boys from a shelter he once stayed in, a troublemaker, quick fists, fierce loyalty. He used to protect Malik from bullies, shared stolen snacks with him on nights they both slept in the shelter's laundry room. And now? Devon was a witness. For the defense? He'd taken money to say one of the attackers was somewhere else that night. He was lying. Malik knew it, but exposing him meant destroying someone who once shielded him. Someone who, in his own way, had tried to be good. Malik was torn. He didn't tell Jennifer right away. He just went quiet. She noticed. "Something's wrong," she said gently. Malik hesitated, then told her everything. Her face didn't change. She simply asked, "What do you want to do?" "I want to tell the truth," he said, "but I don't want to be like them, throwing people away." Jennifer placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we'll tell the truth with love," she said. "That's the difference." Taking the stand, Malik had never been in a courtroom before. But when Jennifer's lawyers asked if he'd testify, he agreed. Not because he wanted revenge, but because someone needed to stand up and say, "I was there, I saw, I stayed." He wore a borrowed button-up shirt. His hands shook as he walked to the witness stand. "Please state your name," the attorney asked. "Malik," he said softly. "Just Malik?" "Just Malik," he nodded. "That's what I've always been." He told them what he saw. He described the metal pipe, the blood, the threats. He described how she'd whispered to him, her voice like gravel. Then the defense attorney stepped forward, smug. "You expect us to believe a street kid remembered all that in detail?" The judge raised an eyebrow. "Watch your tone." Malik didn't flinch. He looked directly at the man and said, "When you grow up on the street, you remember everything, because if you forget even one detail, it might be the last thing you ever forget." The courtroom went silent. Jennifer smiled softly through tears. The verdict. The trial lasted another week. Devon never took the stand. Jennifer's team found evidence of the bribery. Devon was let off with community service instead of jail time, but only after Malik spoke to the judge privately, asking for leniency. "I think he's trying to change," he said. "He just needs someone to see him." The attackers weren't so lucky. Guilty on all charges, 10 years each. Jennifer stood outside the courthouse with Malik, watching the reporters descend. "Do you want to say something to them?" she asked him. Malik shook his head. "Not yet. Healing doesn't ask for permission." After the verdict, things didn't magically get better. Jennifer still had nightmares. Malik still flinched at certain sounds, but now They talked about it. With each other. With their therapist. With Austin, who started joining them for family dinners, always bringing dessert. One night, as they sat watching old superhero movies, Malik turned to Jennifer. "Do you think they regret what they did?" Jennifer thought for a moment. "Maybe. Maybe not. But that's not what matters," she continued. "What matters is that you chose something they never did. You chose to protect someone." Malik leaned into her side. "I'm glad I stayed," he whispered. She kissed the top of his head. "So am I." One step forward. Months passed. Jennifer was offered a book deal, a documentary series, even a movie script based on her experience. She turned most of it down, but she accepted one invitation: to speak at a national conference on restorative justice. This time, she brought Malik with her. He sat beside her on stage as she told the crowd, "I once believed power came from money, from success, but I was wrong. Power comes from presence, and sometimes it comes from an 11-year-old boy who refuses to walk away when the rest of the world does." The crowd stood, applauded. But Malik wasn't looking at them. He was looking at her, smiling, because he knew now what power really looked like, and he was learning to wield it for good. Every story has its turning point. For Malik, it came in a manila envelope. It wasn't flashy, no confetti, no cameras, just a letter, sealed tight, hand-delivered to the shelter's new address. But inside it, his future, and a storm he didn't see coming. The letter that changed everything. Malik was sitting on the edge of his new bed, neat, warm, safe, when Jennifer walked in holding the envelope. "What's that?" he asked, eyes narrowing with a street kid's instinct to expect the worst. Jennifer just smiled. "You tell me," she said, handing it to him. He tore the seal slowly, fingers trembling, then pulled out the single-page letter. His eyes scanned it, slowly widening. Jennifer watched his mouth open, then close, then open again. Finally, he whispered, "I got in." The program, it was a full academic scholarship, a prestigious leadership and mentorship initiative, sponsored in part by Jennifer's foundation, but selected by an independent board. He had no idea he'd even been nominated. The school was out of state. Uniforms, dorm rooms, a clean slate. More than anything, it was proof. He could belong. When the program director called to congratulate him, they said, "Your story moved us. But it's your heart that convinced us." Malik didn't know what to say, so he didn't say anything. He just cried, quietly, with Jennifer sitting beside him, holding his hand. The past knocks. 2 weeks before the move, Malik was walking back from the local library when he heard it. A voice, gravelly, familiar. "Yo, Malik!" He turned, froze. Travis, his older half-brother from foster care. Not by blood, not by choice, but by pain. They'd lived together in 3 different homes. Travis had protected Malik at first, until he didn't. Until drugs, fists, and disappearances took over. Travis looked the same, maybe thinner, jittery. His hoodie clung to him like old guilt. "I heard you livin' with some rich lady now," he said, with a grin that wasn't a smile. "Got a scholarship and everything." Malik said nothing. Travis stepped closer. "You know you owe me, right? All them nights I kept you safe when no one else did." Malik clenched his jaw. "You hit me." Travis laughed. "Man, we was kids." "No," Malik said. "You were cruel." Travis's eyes changed. Cold, sharp. "You gonna forget where you came from now? Act like you better than me?" Malik didn't answer. He walked past him, but the words stuck like hooks. The conversation. That night, Malik barely touched his food. Jennifer noticed. "Want to talk about it?" she asked. He looked up, debating, then nodded. He told her everything, the past, the pain, the sudden return, and the guilt. Jennifer listened, not interrupting. Then she said, "Malik, you don't owe your past a place in your future. You only owe it honesty." "But what if leaving him behind makes me selfish?" "No," she said firmly. "It makes you safe." She leaned closer, eyes warm. "You're allowed to grow, Malik, even if others choose not to." Packing hope. As his departure neared, Malik packed slowly. He folded his few clothes with care. Jennifer bought him new shoes, new notebooks, a sturdy backpack. She didn't hover. She just stayed nearby. The night before his flight, she placed something small on his desk, a leather keychain, engraved with the words, "Stay brave, stay kind, stay you." He looked at it, then at her. "You really think I can do this?" "I know you can." He hugged her for a long time, longer than he ever had. Departure. At the airport, Malik fidgeted through security, adjusting his new coat like it didn't belong to him yet. Jennifer walked him to the gate. "I'm not good with goodbyes," he muttered. "Then don't say one," she said. "Say, 'See you soon.'" He smiled. She leaned in and whispered, "Go be the kind of man you needed when you were little." He nodded, boarding pass in hand, eyes glassy. Just before walking down the jet bridge, he turned. "Hey, Ms. Jen." She looked up. "I'm proud you're mine," he said softly. She nodded, unable to speak. So she just waved, watching as the boy who saved her life walked into his own. Aftermath. Jennifer sat in her car a long time after the plane left. Not crying, just feeling. Grateful. Hopeful. Scared. Because motherhood wasn't about blood. It was about staying when it was hard. Loving when it was messy. Believing when no one else did. And now, her boy was becoming something no one expected. A leader. Some journeys don't start with footsteps. They begin with a letter. Malik's first real letter in his own handwriting, neatly folded, slightly creased, and postmarked from his new life, arrived on a rainy Thursday. Jennifer sat alone in her kitchen, coffee untouched, when the envelope slid under her door. She stared at the return address. Her hands trembled. She opened it like it was made of glass. And then she read, "Dear Ms. Jen, I don't know how to start this letter. I've never written anything like this before. Maybe I should start by saying thank you for everything, for seeing me when I was invisible, for staying, for not walking away like everyone else did. You once told me I was brave. But the truth is, I only became brave because someone believed I could be. You. Dorm life and dignity." Malik's words painted a picture of clean sheets and shared dorm rooms, of awkward roommates and loud hallways, of learning how to fold laundry properly and setting alarms he actually obeyed. "My RA calls me the quiet one," he wrote. "Not 'cause I don't have anything to say, just 'cause I'm still figuring out how to say it." He talked about the meals, how they were warm, not just temperature-wise, but soul-wise. He talked about the books, how he checked out more than he could carry, and how, for the first time in his life, no one looked at him like he didn't belong. The struggles. But he didn't sugarcoat it. He wrote about the ache of being surrounded by kids who'd had stable families, vacations, college prep since birth, about feeling like a ghost in a mansion. "I don't always know what fork to use," he said. "Sometimes I say the wrong thing and people laugh. Not mean, but I still feel small." Jennifer's chest tightened as she read. But then he added, "Then I remember something you told me, that where I came from doesn't make me less, it makes me real. So I sit taller, I speak clearer, and every day I try again. The teacher who asked too much one paragraph stood out more than the rest. He wrote about a teacher, history class. He asked us to write an essay on a leader we admire. Everyone picked presidents, generals, inventors. I wrote about a woman who didn't give up on a street kid. She wasn't famous for it. She didn't make headlines. But she changed a life. Jennifer had to put the letter down. She wiped her eyes. She laughed. Then she cried again. Meanwhile, the courtroom echo. Back in the city, Jennifer sat across from a prosecutor 2 days after reading the letter. The final hearing was approaching. One of the men who attacked her had filed for early parole. Rehabilitation, his lawyer claimed. Jennifer remained composed. When asked if she wanted to speak at the hearing, she said, "Yes, and not for me. For the boy who watched me bleed but didn't run. He deserves a world where cruelty gets consequences." The return letter. That evening, Jennifer wrote Malik back. She chose her words carefully. "Dear kiddo, I got your letter. I read it 5 times. Once out loud. You've already done something most adults never do. You told the truth without dressing it up. That's rare. And brave. I keep your letter on my desk now. Not because I need a reminder of what you've survived, but because I need a reminder of what's possible. When you feel small in that big new world, remember this. You may be one, but you're not alone. Not anymore. With love always, Ms. Jen Malik's circle widens. Back at school, Malik started opening up. He joined the debate club, not to argue, but to listen. He helped a younger boy navigate homesickness. He volunteered in the campus food drive, quietly sorting cans with the same care he used to hide sandwiches behind dumpsters. People started remembering his name. One of his professors stopped him after class. "You've got a story, young man." Meanwhile, the courtroom echo. Back in the city, Jennifer sat across from a prosecutor 2 days after reading the letter. The final hearing was approaching. One of the men who attacked her had filed for early parole. Rehabilitation, his lawyer claimed. Jennifer remained composed. When asked if she wanted to speak at the hearing, she said, "Yes, and not for me. For the boy who watched me bleed, but didn't run. He deserves a world where cruelty gets consequences." The return letter. That evening, Jennifer wrote Malik back. She chose her words carefully. "Dear kiddo, I got your letter. I read it 5 times. Once out loud. You've already done something most adults never do. You told the truth without dressing it up. That's rare and brave. I keep your letter on my desk now, not because I need a reminder of what you've survived, but because I need a reminder of what's possible. When you feel small in that big new world, remember this. You may be one, but you're not alone. Not anymore. With love always, Ms. Jen Malik's circle widens. Back at school, Malik started opening up. He joined the debate club, not to argue, but to listen. He helped a younger boy navigate homesickness. He volunteered in the campus food drive, quietly sorting cans with the same care he used to hide sandwiches behind dumpsters. People started remembering his name. One of his professors stopped him after class. "You've got a story, young man," she said. "I don't tell it much," he replied. "Then let me tell you this," she smiled. "When you're ready, the world needs it." Jennifer's awakening. Jennifer, too, was changing. The company board asked when she'd return full-time. She delayed. Instead, she expanded her foundation's mission. Not just donations, but active intervention, mentorships, job training, literacy workshops. She started attending youth forums, not as a speaker, but as a listener. At one panel, a teen girl asked her, "Why are you here? Aren't you a CEO?" Jennifer smiled softly. "I used to build apps," she said. "Now I help build lives." Some ghosts knock, others just walk through the door. Jennifer never thought she'd hear her son's voice again. And yet, here it was, fragile, quiet, real. "Hey, Mom, it's me, it's Austin." She didn't speak at first. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She was standing in her living room, barefoot, trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of hope. "Austin?" she whispered. "Yeah." She sat down, knees nearly giving out. For a moment, the years fell away. The silence, the voicemail, the absence. It was just her boy, calling home. The conversation. They talked for 47 minutes. Most of it was surface level, where he was living now, London, what he'd been doing, freelance graphic design, how he found her number again. A friend sent him an article about her new foundation. But underneath the small talk was a river of pain. They didn't address it directly. Not yet. "I saw a video of some kid giving a speech," Austin said. Jennifer's breath caught. He talked about a woman who helped him when no one else did. Said she gave him a future. "That was Malik," she said quietly. "I know," Austin replied. "He talked about you like you were his." Jennifer didn't know what to say. Austin continued, "That's what made me call." Old wounds, new air. The days that followed were strange. Jennifer felt haunted and hopeful. She wanted to scream and sob and laugh all at once. She talked to Malik about it. He listened, sipping tea on her balcony. "You think he resents me?" she asked. Malik thought for a second, then said, "I think he's scared you don't miss him." Jennifer flinched. "Tell him," Malik said. "Don't wait for perfect. Just be honest." The letter to Austin. That night, she wrote, "Dear Austin, not a day has passed that I didn't think of you. I built empires, but never figured out how to rebuild us. You're not forgotten. You never were. I know I failed you, but if you're still willing, I want to try. No titles, no expectations. Just your mother, asking for another chance. Love." Mom. She didn't mail it. She booked a flight. London. Jennifer hadn't flown coach in 20 years. She did this time. No assistance, no headlines, just a mother, tired and hopeful. Austin met her outside a bookstore in Camden. He looked older, sadder, but familiar. They sat on a park bench for hours. No yelling, no blame, just two broken clocks trying to tick together again. Jennifer apologized, not just with words, but with presence. Austin cried. She cried. They didn't fix everything that day, but they started something. Back home, Malik's speech. While Jennifer was away, Malik was invited to give a speech at a statewide youth summit. He almost declined. "I don't know what to say to hundreds of people," he told his mentor. "Just tell the truth," she said. So he did. He stood on stage, palms sweaty, voice shaking, but strong. 2 years ago, I was sleeping behind a dumpster. I didn't believe in hope. I didn't believe in people. Then someone saw me. She didn't ask who I was. She just stayed. That's all it takes sometimes. One person who won't walk away. I'm here because of that. And I plan to stay, so I can be that person for someone else." The room erupted in applause. And then he got a standing ovation. Austin meets Malik. When Jennifer returned, she invited both Austin and Malik to dinner. Awkward didn't begin to describe it. Austin eyed Malik with quiet curiosity. Malik kept looking at his plate. Finally, Austin said, "You're the kid from the alley, right?" Malik nodded. "I guess." "You saved her," Austin said, "when I didn't even call." "It wasn't like that," Malik replied. "I just couldn't walk away." Austin's voice broke. "I did." Jennifer reached for both of their hands across the table. "None of us got it right," she said. "But maybe we don't have to be perfect to begin again." A different kind of family. After that night, something shifted. Austin began visiting more often. He and Malik didn't become instant friends, but there was respect, maybe even quiet understanding. They both had parts of Jennifer. They both had pieces of pain. They both had second chances. And they were trying. The newspaper headline. Months later, a local journalist did a piece on Jennifer's foundation. The headline read, "From CEO to Motherhood, the woman who got a second chance. Twice." The photo showed Jennifer flanked by two boys, one tall and light-eyed, the other lean and brown-skinned, both smiling. The caption simply read, "Family. Some names are given, others are earned." Malik never cared much about last names. He'd had a few over the years: foster homes, case files, forgotten school records. None of them felt like his. They were placeholders, like he was just passing through life, not really in it. But that was before he met Jennifer Langston, before a stranger whispered in the dark that he had the heart she'd always wished for in a son, and before a new name found him, one he chose, Parker, his own. A classroom full of eyes. It was a chilly morning in early March. Malik stood at the front of a classroom in a clean white shirt, navy slacks, and scuffed sneakers he still loved. He was volunteering at a city middle school, his old school, ironically. Back then, no one remembered his name. Now, every kid in the room stared like he was someone. A student raised her hand. "You really used to live on the street?" she asked. Malik nodded. "For a while." "But now you're, like, important?" He smiled. "I don't think being important is about where you live or what you wear." "Then what is it?" another boy asked. Malik looked around at the eyes watching him, some wide with wonder, others guarded with skepticism. Being important is when someone needs help, and you stay. Even when you're scared, even when no one's looking, especially then. Jennifer's surprise. That night, Malik came home to the townhouse Jennifer had bought for the two of them. He didn't say much. He never did after public things like that. But Jennifer was waiting in the kitchen, a small wrapped box in her hand. "What's this?" Malik asked. "Just open it." Inside was a sleek leather binder, embossed in silver. "Malik Parker." He blinked. "Parker?" Jennifer stepped closer. "I know you've had a lot of names, but if you want, this one can be yours. Not legally, unless you decide, but in every way that matters." His throat closed up. "Why, Parker?" Jennifer smiled. "It was my grandmother's name. She raised me, loved me before I had a name of my own." Malik stared at the binder for a long time, then whispered, "Yeah, I want that." Austin's gesture. A week later, Austin took Malik out for lunch. It was their first outing alone. No Jennifer, no hovering. They sat at a noisy diner, both picking at burgers. "You know," Austin said, "I was jealous of you at first." Malik raised an eyebrow. "Of me?" "Yeah. You had Mom's heart in a way I never figured out how to reach." Malik looked down. "I never meant to take anything from you." "I know," Austin said. "That's the thing. You didn't take. You gave." Then he slid a small envelope across the table. Inside was a black and white photo of a young boy, smiling, gap-toothed, hopeful. "That was me at 10, Austin said. "Before all the walls." Malik smiled. "You were cute." Austin grinned. "Shut up." They both laughed. For the first time, it felt like brothers, not by blood, by healing. The commencement speech. 2 months later, Malik was asked to give the keynote speech at the youth mentorship graduation, this time not as a student, but as a mentor. He wore a fitted navy blazer Jennifer helped him pick out. The auditorium was full. Jennifer sat in the front row, her hand in Austin's. Malik stepped to the podium. "Good evening," he began. "My name is Malik Parker." People clapped. Loud. Some even stood before he finished. He paused, smiling. "I used to think I didn't matter. I slept on concrete, ate from trash cans. I thought the world was a place where people like me disappear. Then one night someone saw me. She was broken, bleeding, and she saw me. She gave me food, yes, clothes, a roof. But more than that, she gave me something I'd never had. A sense that maybe I was worth loving, worth saving, worth keeping. Her name is Jennifer Langston. You might know her as a CEO. I know her as Mom. And because of her, and so many others, I now get to be that for someone else. So if you're here today wondering if your story matters, it does. Someone out there is waiting for your voice. Don't stay silent. And don't walk away when you see someone bleeding, because the person you help might be the one who saves you right back. Thank you." After the applause backstage, Jennifer pulled him into a hug. "You were perfect," she whispered. "No," Malik said, wiping his eyes. "Just honest." Austin joined, wrapping them both in his arms. A photographer captured the moment. A woman who once stood alone at the top of an empire, now standing with two sons, one by birth, one by bond. The caption later read, "The day they called him Mr. Parker." Epilogue. A new beginning. Malik now works as a program coordinator at the foundation. He mentors street kids, visits shelters, teaches public speaking. He still wears the same scuffed sneakers sometimes. Jennifer stepped back from the tech world. Her greatest investment is now in lives, not lines of code. Austin designs campaign graphics for nonprofits. They all live within blocks of each other. Sometimes they meet for Sunday dinners. They bicker, they laugh, they heal. They're not perfect, but they're family. And that's worth everything.